Fishing our service today is Rabbi Abramson. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us from near and from far.
Shalom Alo says so and I Lord in me I yavo Azri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim v'aretz Hayitin lamot raglecha Hayanum shomrecha Hinei lo yanu v'lo yishan shomei Yisroel Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcho yad yaminecha Yom Hashem v'shlo yakeka v'yareach b'loila Adonai yishmor mikol ra yishmor es nafshecha Adonai yishmor tezcho v'oecha me'ata v'yad olam Mizmor LeDavid Adonai mi yagor b'halecha mi yishkam b'har kadshecha Olech tamim u'chvel tzedek v'dovem es b'lvavo L'ragalcha l'shana lo asal re'u ra v'chepa lo nasak rabo V'zeh beinav nimas v'shirei Adonai yichabed nishpa lo ra v'lo yamir Kaspo lo natzam b'neshech v'shachar al naki lo lakach Chazal explain that those who pass during the month of Elul have a direct kesher into the Olam Haba, because it's during this time of Elul. What it means is the tshuva is that we return to Hashem. We've been away so long, and this is the time of the year that we return to our Creator. And we're here today to say goodbye to Yosefa, who's returning now, to the Olam Emes, to her Creator, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This time is really dedicated and reserved for those who have that special schus of going into the Olam Haba. During this time, that we sound the shofar, and we begin to stand the slichos, we begin our return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Yosefa Bas Rabbi Yitzchak now returning her neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing her into the Shemayim. We're going to hear from our grandson Menachem say a few words. But she lived a long life, over a century. And if you just think about it, this was not just, her life was not just before cell phones. It wasn't just before a computer, before an internet. It was before a telephone. This was the person who had to communicate from someone directly. There's no such thing as a text. You took care of your parents, you took care of your siblings, you took care of your neighbors. There was a special bond. And that anybody who lived for a century has such a schus of not having the challenges of technology, and at the same time using and utilizing their lives to the maximum potential. Shetehei nafsho tzrur chaim. May your soul be bound in the bond of eternal life. I'd like to call upon Menachem to please share some words of comfort about his Bobby.
I just found out that I was speaking, so excuse me for not saying it in any particular order or anything like that. I really didn't prepare anything. I can really speak all day if I was able to about Grandma. She, there's so many things to talk about. So if I miss anything, we could talk about it during the Shiva, but I'm going to try to just touch upon some of the main points. We're very, very lucky to have her in our lives for so long. She was almost 104, but still we thought she was going to live forever. She was that type of person, and even till the end, she wasn't ready to go. She was sharp as anything, even till the last couple of days. She was as sharp as she was 50 years ago. She remembered everything. She remembered every single one of my kids' names, where they were going to school. Oh, Yaakov's in Israel, Leah's going to Israel, Moshe's in St. Louis, and Simcha's going here, everyone's going there, and she remembered, and she really remembered. It's not like when you walked in, you had to say, "Oh, hi, it's me." She knew who it was. Just in the last couple of weeks, on the phone, it was hard for her to hear, and when she knew who you were, then she would get excited. She always wanted visitors. If you visited her on Monday, on Tuesday she would say, "Why haven't you visited me in so long? Where have you been? You forget about me?" So it doesn't make a difference how often we came. She just wanted us there. And even the last couple of hours, I mean, she could hear us as much as we. I think she could she heard us. So we all talked to her, but the room was so filled with her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. And it was. I think that's what she was waiting for. We thought she was going to wake up and say, "Okay, see, I got you guys all in the room," and it wasn't even all of us, and the room was packed. We would all go visit her. I don't know if we visit her as much as she wanted us to, but we would visit her, and she would always be excited to see us, and she always had cookies. She liked to bake. She liked to bake. Her chocolate chip cookies, she counted out her chocolate chips in each cookie. It was perfectly done. I have the recipe. I asked her for it a couple months ago. I don't know if I'll be able to make it like her, but maybe my wife can try. She would pass out cookies, and we would go into her fridge and see what kind of cookies she had, whether it was the chocolate chip cookies or the swirl cookie or the black and white cookie. And she would always have something. And then when Grandpa died, she gave up on her baking and cooking, and they did it as a team. And what she did was she would bring out a cracker box and say, "Hold on a second, I have something for your kids." And she would go into the cabinet and she would pull out a cracker box. I'm like, okay, the kids are going to be excited about crackers. And she pulls out her hidden stash of lollipops. Inside the box was hidden lollipops, and I called dibs on that box, by the way. So, and she would just always be thoughtful like that, and she would give the kids candy, and if one of the kids were having a fit, I'm not saying my kids were having a fit, but if they were having a fit, she'd be like, okay, do they want another one? What do they need? Or whatever. She would always be on top of her game. It didn't make a difference if she was 70 years old. I was alive. Or she was 103. She was really, really, really with it. And I know my two children who are in Eretz Yisrael right now are watching. And Yaakov, Yaakov would have an argument with her, saying, "Okay, Bobby, I'll be home by Pesach." She goes, "I'm not. Maybe you'll be home for Pesach, but I won't be here." And then, sure enough, Yaakov came home for Pesach. She was here, and he goes, "See, I told you, Bobby, you're still here." So he goes, and we visit, and again, he just left again, and he said, "Okay, so maybe I'm going to surprise you, and I'll come in for Donnie's wedding. So we'll dance together there. If not, I'll see you by Pesach." So she goes, okay, you'll be here for Pesach, but I won't be here for Pesach. So Yaakov said, okay, Bobby, you said that last time, so we're not going to say it again because we know you're going to be here. I guess she won this time, but the last couple of minutes, I made sure that I woke up Yaakov in the middle of the night. He's usually up anyways, but this time, of course, he was sleeping. And I made sure him and Leah and all my children on speaker were able to have a conversation with her. She didn't respond back, but her eyes were opening wide as soon as she heard my kids talking to her, and every single one of them, down to the baby, said, I love you, Bubby. And her eyes did widen. Her eyes got brighter, and there were some tears coming out, so I don't know if it was just me making things up, I don't know, but I think she was being responsive. She was a great Bubby. Can't call her grandma, she wanted to be called Bubby. She's a great Bubby, and she always said, Grandpa and her were the best partners ever. They did everything together, everything. They baked bread, they made their soup, they did everything together. When Grandpa died, she goes, okay, Nachi, I don't think I'll be here too long. Can't live without him. It kept going, and she kept on saying it. She misses him, and she kept on going. She was so strong. She was so strong until the end. She really was so strong until the end. She was sharp. She was strong until the last couple of weeks when, she couldn't hear as well. She couldn't walk. It was getting hard for her. It's getting hard for her. And until, I don't remember exactly when, but very recently, she got a caregiver. But before that, she was 103 and living on her own. People would say, she's living on her own? Were you crazy? She said, once you take me out of here, you're only taking me out one way. And she was right. But she didn't suffer. She really, she went out peacefully. She really went out peacefully. Really, really peacefully. My wife told me that she didn't look like she was 103. She didn't look 103. Anybody who knew her knew that she was just a vibrant, great lady, always happy to see all of us. Again, I'm not going to keep everyone here. I could keep going. I just want to. Anything else? Just want to ask Grandma. I want to ask you, Michila, on behalf of my mother and my father and the entire family, please mochel us if we did anything to you. We didn't call you enough. We didn't visit you enough. Life gets crazy and busy, but we tried. All of us, on behalf of everybody, we really, really tried. I know it probably wasn't enough. We love you and we miss you, and I know that you're waiting to see Grandpa and your parents. I know they were waiting for you. Chama was waiting to give you a big hug. I wanted to know why you were there, because we all thought you were going to live forever. So Chama probably said, Bobby, what are you doing here? You did everything. One last thing I want to say is that she said lots and lots of Tehillim. She always sang Tehillim. She was always davening, Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv. What women daven Ma'ariv? Only some women, a handful of women daven Ma'ariv. You got to try hard time getting guys to go to Ma'ariv. But Bubby, I was at the house one time late, and she goes, "Oh, I forgot, I got to go daven Ma'ariv." She would always daven Ma'ariv, and even when she couldn't see so well, she would have these giant print-up papers, probably Uncle Stevie made for her, so she was able to daven and say Tehillim. She was a very, very special holy lady. And we're going to miss her a ton.
El Malei Rachamim, Shochem Bamromim, Amasei Menucha Nechono Tachas Kanfei Ashchinam, B'malos Kedoshim U'Tehorim Gazor Harakim Asirim Es Nishmas Yosef B'Pas Reb Yitzchok Shacholi Olama B'Gan Eden Tei Menuchoso L'chein Bal Rachamim Yastireha B'Seisek Anafaf Lo Lamim B'Yisror B'Surachayim Es Nishmaso Adonai Nachalosa B'Sanuach B'Shalom HaMishkava V'Nomar Romain. Okay, now we're going to
I wanted to speak first.
oh, I'm sorry.
Last week, my family, we had the privilege of seeing Bubby for the last time. She has been through a lot the past few weeks, and the wear and the tear was pretty evident. As hard as it was to witness her decline, we were given the rare and painful gift of seeing her vulnerability, a reminder of just how much she has given of herself over the years. In those final moments, what remained was not just her strength, but the deep love she had for her family, a love that never wavered, even as her body did. Bubby was a woman of conviction. Her unwavering opinions made her a worthy opponent of any healthy debate, and it also made her someone with a lot of backbone who would stand in your corner when needed. It was the strength of that character that made her an unbelievable, determined mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother. Not only did she care for my mother, but she also cared for her children in unprecedented ways. My brothers and I can surely say that our childhood memories hold many precious years in Bubby and Grandpa's home, where we celebrated many Yom Tov and Shabbosim together. She enveloped us with love and made us feel taken care of in ways that created residual effects on her great-grandchildren. The love and devotion she showed us growing up has helped us develop into the individuals we are today. For that, we have much hakaras hatov. But there are so many beautiful memories we will hold on to. Her home is a frozen capsule of a time where you shared 74 wonderful years with Grandpa, and countless days jarring and prepping food in the basement, baking, and running a vibrant home. We, your grandchildren, have benefited greatly from your devotion, and we will miss you immensely. Bobby, I will miss our weekly Erev Shabbos calls, but I know you will once be united with Grandpa and Shemayim again. I know it's been very difficult for you without him these last few years, but just like you waited for him to come back from the war, he has been waiting to reunite with you. Today is not a day of sorrow. It's a day to celebrate the impactful 103 years your soul was on this earth. Your life has so much meaning and benefited so many people around you that we all say that you went out strong. Baruch Hashem, you were blessed with an incredible, fruitful life, and your legacy will continue to live on for generations to come. And just like the ancestral pictures that grace the wall of your sitting room in your home, the last resting place before you leave this earth, your mark has been made in what you've accomplished and left behind. Bobby, your neshama should have an aliyah, and it should soar to the highest places in Shemayim. Rest assured, your memory will live on for years to come.
Well, I was on a plane this morning. I was trying to, write down some thoughts of Bobby and everything. And I wrote a lot here, but I'm not going to go through it all. But as I was thinking about, I was thinking to myself, who is Bobby, and how well do I know her? And I remember growing up in her house and going over for Pesach and Sukkot and all the cooking she did and everything. And it was the food was always great, and it was always a great time. But we always got along with my dad really well. They loved each other. They really did. It was a love-hate relationship. So my thoughts and things I think of like Bobby is that sometimes she'd be stubborn and very set in her ways, but at the same time, it was okay. Got along with it. She probably developed a lot of that growing up, the Depression and World War II and all that other stuff. I do remember all the cookies she would make. And growing up, we could never take the cookies on our own. If we tried, she'll yell at us and never end well. That's probably why one time I broke the mirrors in our house. But as we got older, she kind of let go of her guard a little bit, and she let us take our own cookies, which was great. It really was. Some of the things I learned from her was actually how to sew things up. I used to have this Spider-Man doll when I was younger, and my brother used to use his legs as a tug and war thing, and it always ripped. And I always brought it back to Bubby's house, and she would sew it. She would sew it back up for me every time. I watched her do it, and I pretty much learned how to sew things up in there. And now I have my own daughter, and sometimes she asks me to sew things up, and I'll sew them, and she said, "Daddy, where did you learn how to do that?" I'm like, "I learned from Bubby." I remember one time asking her, before I got married, I asked her, what was your wedding like? Like, what do you remember from it? And all she told me was, it was cold and snowy. Nothing good, just it was cold and snowy. Just a typical way of answering things. I will definitely miss calling her up for Shabbos, even though I wasn't always so great on it. And whenever I miss a few weeks and I try calling her, and she'll give me the third degree a little bit, make me feel guilty that I don't call, I always forgot about her. But then after like a minute, she softened up and she gets back to where she used to be, and always asked about how my wife was doing, how daughter's doing. She always wanted to know how everyone else was doing. And whenever I asked her how she was doing, she would say, I'm okay, but how's your wife doing? She didn't really want to talk about her. She was complex, but yet unique in her own little way like that. I guess we're gonna miss her. She was loving, she was caring. She was always there for us. I guess I'll leave with just saying thank you for being the grandmother that you were and being who you are, and teaching us and showing us how things could be or should be, or just showing us that having a little wit is not a bad thing sometimes. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just ran here. You gotta forgive me. I just want to say something really quick, very, very brief. It's just something that I haven't heard anyone say yet. I was watching the Zoom actually. Everyone here, we were all lucky to have someone like Safta, I call her Safta, in our lives. She was an incredibly strong woman, and one attribute I wanted to point out the most is, as clearly her favorite great-grandchild, I would go over there as often as I could. And, ever since Grandpa died, she's been more sad. She missed him a lot, as we all mentioned, and she would sometimes get emotional, and she would sometimes talk about, oh, I'm not going to be here much longer. Oh, I can't do this without Grandpa. And one of the things I often did to try and get her to, calm down was I would just look at the wall of many pictures, and I would just say, hey, Safta, who is this person again? Or how did these two people meet? Or what's their story? And at 103 years old, I think it's pretty impressive that Safta was able to like perfectly identify who everyone was and what their story was and where they came from and where they went and what they attributed to the world. So it's not common at all to have a great grandmother so old and so strong. But in general, it's not even common to have a great grandmother that remembers so well and has all that information in her head. She wasn't losing it. She was perfectly with it. As we said earlier, she lived by her own, perfectly with it, and was able to tell you anything you wanted to know about anything in her house or anyone in the family. She really was the records keeper of our whole extended family, and I feel grateful that we're able to all come from such an amazing woman and such a strong woman, and I'm gonna miss her a lot. She was really special, and she really, like, going over there with my mom was just a really, really special experience because she was always fun. She always was upset about something, someone not coming over. I guess I shouldn't have promised her that I'm gonna keep going over because I didn't go the next week and she got pretty mad at me. But she was an incredible woman with an incredible memory, and I think that's one of the attributes that I wanted to point out the most. Thank you.
Richard?
Yeah, my mother, I want to say, was a true Ashes Chayil, a woman of valor. She lived a full life and accomplished so much. She made sure she lived life to its fullest. She made every day count. She lived to nearly 104, and she was an Ashes Chayil in each and every year. My mother had a lot of attributes. She was a homemaker. She could bake, cook, sew. Gave us a bias neman. She was a traveler. She and my father traveled all over the country. They took trips throughout. They visited Israel as many times as they could. She was also a great walker, and she had to be because she couldn't drive. She didn't want to drive, so she would walk as far and shop as far as it would be necessary to provide all the food and provisions for us. She was also, as you may have realized when you visit her, she was an avid reader. She loved to read, especially mysteries. And so she loved to go to the library, pick out books, but when she got older, she couldn't do it any longer. So I helped her pick out topics that she liked and so on. But even as her vision started going later on, she still wanted to read. No matter how little she could do, she just wanted to do it. And of course, she was a very religious woman, as you know. She wanted to make sure her family was raised that way, in a religious, firm home. And my father and mother, they struggled in the early years to support their family, but they always found a way to send us to religious schools for Hebrew education. They thought it was the most important thing. And as Nachi said, she would daven 3 times a day, every day, say Tehillim, each day for others. She'd always have her Tehillim book out, and she'd find out who needed to have Tehillim said for her. And she was very scrupulous about that. And she had some uniqueness. She would always ask me, when is Rosh Chodesh? What is the new month coming up? It was very important. She wanted to know. And of course I would tell her. And if I didn't tell her 1 month, she would tell me, why you didn't tell me this? Okay. But she was very careful to be sure that she was saying the correct prayers for Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos, and Yom Tovim. She wanted me to go over with her to make sure always that she's saying the right passages and everything was right. But when she got a little bit older, she was unable to walk to shul. So she then asked for people to come over to read to her home, to read for her, especially for Purim, to read the Megillas Esther. And another interesting thing is that you were talking about her memory and how good she can remember. Well, she would always make sure to remember everyone's yard side. We'd have a list, and we'd go through that list, and she would ask me, well, what's next on the list? We have to light a candle for her. So we would light candles for all the people on, all our family on the yard side list. And she was very, if we missed one, she wasn't very happy, and I don't blame her. And she, of course, was blessed with great nachas. So all the nachas is here. And she was proud of how large her family had become, with grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and all the nachas that they gave her. She even walked down the aisle for her great-grandchild's wedding just a few months ago. And she was a little younger there. She was 103. And it was very hard for her to do it. But she wanted to be there no matter what. And things didn't always go well. There are times, she's also suffered tragedies along the way. Losing a daughter, then a loving husband who had been together for nearly 75 years, and then a grandchild. It was tough for her, but she was tough, and she kept going as best as she could. The woman of valor quoted in Proverbs 31, quoting, never sit still, let alone rest. Her light never goes out, and she rises from her bed when it is dark, still dark, and gives food to her household. That was my mother. Her name was Josefa. It was like feminized for Yosef, from Yosef. And in the Chumash, Rachel says she named her son Yosef because the Lord would add more sons to her, reflecting her hope for more children and the addition of future blessings. My mother surely received future blessings, and we were all blessed to have her. When we think of Eshes Chayil, we should always think of Jocelyn Stine, Josefa. She was a great mother, wife, grandmother, great and great-grandmother. She truly was an Eshes Chayil, and may her neshama have an aliyah.
When my mother was a young girl, Chicago was a much different place as far as Yiddishkeit is concerned. There were no Jewish day schools, but my mother came from a frum home and was sent to Hebrew school, where she learned how to read Hebrew, learn Chumash, and other Jewish studies. In addition, a rabbi from her father's hometown would spend a Shabbos with them when he visited Chicago. He left a lasting impression on my mother, who she described as a small, gentle man with a long white beard with beautiful midos. This all contributed to my mother's long dedication to Yiddishkeit. She went to shul every Shabbos and Yontif until she was in her late 90s. Despite that, she always davened 3 times a day and said Tehillim until the end of her life. Her greatest joy was with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She remembered their names, ages, even to the end of her life. I was amazed how good her memory was for her age. In fact, she asked to write checks for her great-grandchildren who were graduating from school this past June, and she knew everyone where they were coming from. She also loved to cook and bake, and her chocolate chip cookies, pies, and sweet rolls were a family favorite. When her grandchildren came over to the house, they used to raid the refrigerator for her cookies. She also taught herself how to knit, where she made many hats and sweaters for the family. She had great emunah in Hashem, which helped her keep going after her oldest daughter, Marta, died, as well as my father. I would like to take this time to thank everyone who helped my mother in her last years, whether that was buying groceries, making food for her, taking her to the doctor, and calling and visiting her. She was always thrilled when she received a phone call or visits from family and friends.
Friends, at this time we are going to begin the Kfura. We're going to have some of the family, some of the gentlemen help, and then afterwards everyone will have the opportunity to place earth into the cover.
Yeah,
ולחיה מיסה ולאקסקה לחיי עלמה ולבפני גרתה דירושלים ולשחי היכה כלי תגבה וכד פחנה נחרה מערה ליעשבה פולחנה דשמיא ליעשרי וימלך קודשה בריך מחוסי ויקרא וחייך יומך חייך בית ישראל בגלוס זמן קריב אמרו אמן השמי רב ברוך עלמי אמיה יסברך ישתבח יסבור יסמרמן יסנעשה ויסדור ויסהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לילה מכל ברכוסה ושירסה תושבחס ונחמסה דמי עמימה ואמרו אמן יהי שלום משמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום ברמה יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
All right, we're going to form. Yes. Shiva will be back at the Stine residence, 3030 West Hood in Chicago. The Minyan times and Shiva hours are posted on the funeral home website. Tonight, Mincha will be 7 o'clock, or maybe 5 to 7, followed by Marav. Chakras tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, and Sunday will be at 8. Mincha and Friday, we're going to try to get at 1:30, which will end the Shiva on Friday. Again, that information is available on Chicago Jewish Funerals. Thank you for those who are watching on the live stream.